data-driven testing, specifying the test data in the Excel. Before going to do data-driven testing using Excel, repeating this point again. What is data-driven testing? If you want to execute same test case with multiple sets of data, multiple times, it is called as data-driven testing. So we specify data in the Excel files. For data-driven testing, most of the times we'll specify data in Excel files. And sometimes we'll also specify the data in the databases. By this, you will not understand. Take some random website. This is some random website. Instead of that, you can take this Orange HRM. It's a simple website. We can log in it here as well, accept cookies, and or if you can see, this is some random website which I have taken. Or see another website as well. So in the money control, this is a website. And in this particular website, you can see a calculator. So in this particular website also, you will be seeing some calculator. And what this calculator does, it calculates fixed deposit. We need to specify the principal amount here, rate of interest for that principal amount, and what is the period, and whether it is compounded quarterly, annually, or yearly. You need to specify. And then if you press on this calculate, then it will try to calculate the fixed deposit. Let me show you that what I have done. So I have prepared one Excel, caldata.excel. So in this particular Excel file, what I have done, I have just specified principal, rate of interest, period, frequency, maturity value, and expected and actual result. So you take this first, 20,000 is the principal amount. Let me close this, if you can see. 20,000, and rate of interest is 10%. And coming to period, it is 2 years, not days, it's years. If you want years or days, you can also specify. And similarly, if you want the frequency, it is simple interest. So what I'm doing, I'm just specifying the data. This is one set of data. This is another set of data. This is third set of data. Fifth set, sixth set of data. So only one test case. If you see it here, fixed deposit calculator, calculating the fixed deposit interest. It is the only thing, only test script. But what I'm doing, I'm executing that particular test script or the test case with multiple sets of data. It is nothing but data-driven testing. Executing the same test case. In this case, you can take off this fixed deposit calculator with multiple sets of data multiple times. We are executing multiple times anyway, you will execute. Then it is called as data-driven testing. If you see here, I'm just calculating the fixed deposit. If you see 24,000, this is the maturity value. And similarly, if I specify 40,000, this is another round, another set of data. 40,000, 15 years, rate of interest, it is period is 5 years, and also it is simple interest. If you can see, maturity value should be 24,000. This is what expected. And what is the result? We can see. See, I have already calculated. If these are the parameters, then my maturity value should be like this. And whatever the result which I got here should match with the maturity value which I specified. So if it is matching, then the result should be pass, and it should highlight with green color. This is what my requirement. See, not only like this, you can do n number of ways. It is as per your requirement. That's it. So here our main motto is specifying the test data in the Excel file and reading the test data and passing the test data to that application whenever running. Similarly, if you specify 40,000, rate of interest is 15%, and period is 5 years, then it is maturity value is 70,000. That what I have already calculated and I have specified here. Whether this maturity value which I have specified here will be matching with this or not. I need to check. If it is matching, the expected condition should match. Nothing but it should pass. If it is not matching, it should fail. So this is what my requirement is. Now, you need to pass this test data multiple times to this particular fixed deposit calculator. How you can pass, how you can write a script. Before going to that, just understand one scenario. Suppose if you have 10 test cases, in every test case, like whether it is TC1, TC2, TC3 and so on, select TC10, you are having automation code. Along with automation code, you are having Excel operations. What are the Excel operations which we have seen earlier? So, and before that, every test case need data-driven testing. So we need to specify the data in the Excel file, and we need to read the data at the time of executing that script. So likewise, suppose I have 10 test cases, but you are seeing only 2 test cases here. You can think of that. You can have 10 test cases. So every test case is having an automation code and Excel operations. What are the Excel operations? Reading rows and columns, writing into rows and columns, rows, column, and after the result, expected and actual result are matching, I need to highlight these particular cells with green color or red color if it is failing. Like that, these are the things which I want to do in every test case. If you see, I have used the same Excel operations in every test case. Like if I have suppose 100 test cases, I need to repeat these Excel operations 100 times. Don't you think it is a complexity? And also duplication. You are using the same thing which you have used in one test case, you are using in multiple test cases. So here 2 problems. What are those 2 problems? One is complexity. So when you use a huge script, definitely it becomes very complex. And in that script, what are the operations which you are doing? You are just using in multiple test cases. Similarly, duplication. Very important. You are again using the same operations multiple times. You are just repeating them in multiple test cases. Nothing but it is a duplication. So to avoid complexity and duplication, what I can do, instead of specifying at multiple places these Excel operations, what I can do, I can specify that Excel operations in Excel utils.py, Excel utils module. So these are nothing but reusable functions. So what I can do, I can create a function for reading, writing, counting number of rows, highlighting with green or red color in the form of functions. I will keep that particular functions in one file, nothing but utils.py file. So in general, if you are specifying any functions which are reusable across multiple test cases or multiple modules, then I can specify those functions in utils.py. In general, the name is like this, utils, utility, means it contains reusable functions. So what I can do, I can specify all these Excel operations in one file. I can in every automation script. So the complexity has been reduced and duplication has been reduced. So let me write that point in a clear way. If there are some 10 test cases, so apart from automation code, which is anyway you are seeing here in the previous classes, these are the automation codes. You can think of this like an automation code, or in the previous capturing screenshot, or like this. So in general, this will not be the automation code. It will be very huge. Like if you maybe in sometimes you will be having some lot of codes, some 100 lines or 200 lines. This is simple automation script up to now which we have seen. But whenever we are doing a project, we'll get to know how much the script is complex. Anyway, automation code is itself very complex. But if we again include Excel operations like this, in that particular test case only, you will be having automation code. Again, if you include Excel operations, then it becomes that particular test script or the test case becomes complex. And also you are just using these Excel files repeatedly in multiple modules or multiple test cases. Again, duplication. So to avoid complexity and duplication, we use utility file. In general, in every company, we use utility file. Utility file, that name excel utils.py or utils.py, which we'll be creating now, contains reusable functions. Nothing but reusable. You can use again and again. Reusable. This name itself says reusable. If the particular functions need to be used across multiple modules, then I can call them as reusable functions. I can specify that reusable functions in the utility file. Not only these Excel operations. In this particular case, you are seeing only Excel operations. Maybe in some cases, you'll be having some common methods which you need to call every time. You'll specify those methods in the utility files, util files. So that what this utility files does. Only reusable functions will be specified in utility file, and you will call that utility file. That's it. We'll see in a while. And these functions which we are specifying it in the utility file are invoked in every automation test case or test script. Just we'll call the file name. That's it. So when we call, all these particular functions will be available for this module or a test case. So every time, almost a data-driven test or a test case should contain web element actions, nothing but automation code and validations. These both should be present. We'll specify reusable functions in Excel files. That's it. Only in every data-driven testing, you need to have, in particular test case, automation code and validations. That's it. Reusable functions should be specified in utils files, utility files. Very important. So go to PyCharm, create a folder of day 33. New directory, day 33. So in the data tree, what I'm doing, I'm just creating a Python file, nothing but utility file. So I can say, you can give any name. Not only you need to give this name, you can give any name. So whatever the name which we specify, that should be understandable to all the folks. That's it. That's what my requirement is. So while naming also, you should be very careful. That name should define what that particular function or particular module will do. So in this case, what I'm doing, I'm just naming that as Excel utils. If you can see, when I say utils, nothing but utility module, utility file. Then anybody can understand. If it is an utility file, yes, definitely, most of the times in utility files, we will use reusable functions, where I can use the particular functions in multiple modules. That's it. So in this particular case, I'm just specifying the test data. So what are the operations which I can do on Excel? Reading the data, writing the data, reading number of rows, columns, and etc. These are the common type of actions which I do on Excel files. So what you can do, you can just specify one method here like this. As we discussed, in order to work with Excel files, in Python we have OpenPyXL. You need to import that OpenPyXL, and the first operation, getting a row count. For getting row count, I had just defined this as a function. If you see individually, this is what we have worked yesterday, but we have created this row count as a function. That's it. If you can observe, in the day 32, we have just discussed handling file. In the workbook, OpenPyXL.load workbook, I will just specify the file location. That's it. So I will specify the sheet name, and in the sheet I am having rows and columns. So for counting the number of rows where I specify the data, I have maximum row. That's what you are seeing here, sheet dot maximum. I am just returning. In the similar way, column count. So for each and every action, I'm just creating a function. That's it. And reading, writing the data. These are all the common functions. For reading the data, what we will do, this is the syntax which we have seen yesterday. In the sheet, we'll be having cell. I will specify row number R, column number C, R, C, and I will specify that value for reading that data. That in this particular cell, in this particular row, and this particular column, it is having some value just to fetch the data. That's it. And this is the syntax for writing the data. Just ulta. That's it. And after writing, definitely you need to save that file. This is what reading data function and writing data function will do. So what I have done, just simply instead of writing it separately in a one code, I have just defined functions. So wherever I find the use case, I can just call this particular function. That's it. Similarly, if the expected and actual result matches, it should highlight with green color. And if it is not matching, then it should highlight with red color. This is what I requirement. So in the OpenPy Excel, I have styles. In the styles, I'm just importing pattern fill. When I import this particular class, I can use the color for just highlighting, whether I can use a green, red, or blue, anything which I can, how I can. So what I'm doing, I'm just defining nothing but this is also editing, like nothing but rating the data. What I'm doing, I'm just defining two functions: fill green color, fill red color. So when expected equals to actual, I will just call this particular method, specifying the file name, sheet name, row number, and column number. And for filling green color, you need to specify the color code. These are static values which you see upon seeing the documentation, you will get to know. Or you can go to here, pattern fill. You can see it here. So if you want different type of colors to be used, you can specify that color code like this, grade 125, pattern type like this. You can see it here in the documentation. And if you go to styles, you can see it here. Yes, it is not there. Yes. You can see that in pattern fill. That's it. So area fill patterns for use in styles. So this particular area or this particular cell needs to be colored. That's it. So how you can call these particular methods? In this particular class, I'll be showing you one example, and I have already specified another example how you can use the same Excel file in another test case. Just you need to call this particular test case. So you are writing a test case, and if you again specify these particular Excel methods in that particular test case, you will feel some difficulty. So what I have done, I have just defined these Excel operations in one Excel file, nothing but utility file, nothing but util file. It is also a module. It is also a Python library. Just you need to import whenever you want to work in different directories or different packages as well. Whenever we are dealing with packages, we have seen that how to import the packages. That's it. And what I will be doing, I will just spacing this particular Excel file in this particular folder. Close this, open, and I have already provided this in the drive. Don't worry, you will get this particular sheet as well, which I'll be working here. And go here in the data 3, paste. I'm just pasting Excel file here because I want to use that Excel file for data-driven testing. Then close this Excel file and create a Python file. So it is very important. You will call this particular Excel file in particular test cases. This is the first test case which we will be seeing: fixed deposit calculator. Fixed deposit calculator. It is the module or the test case which I will be writing. So the first thing which I want to do is I need to open this particular website, and at the time of opening this particular website, you have seen multiple notifications have come here. So I need to disable that notifications. If there are any drop downs, let me inspect this particular drop down. If you can see here, these particular drop downs will be having select tag. So I need to import select tag as well. So these are all the basic things which I want to do. So what I have done, I have just written some basic initializations like importing time, importing Excel modules, very important. Where this Excel module or Excel util file is defined in the same folder only, in the same data3 only, I have defined this Excel utils.py. So I have just imported. So suppose if this is defined in another folder, what you need to do? You need to import utils files. How? From day 32 dot. So because we have not created classes, so that way it is not highlighting. So what you can do, import. When you specify import, it will specify all the modules like handle Excel files like that. From day 32, 1 second. From Python practice, or you can just specify this directory here. One second, from day32, yes, import all. You just specify like this. If you just specify like this, it will try to import all the modules in this particular folder. That's it. In this way also you can import. Instead of specifying individual modules, you can use this star like this. Or otherwise, if it is, or if a particular module or a library is defined in the same folder, you can use just import that file name. I have just imported and WebDriver by, when I'm dealing with dropdowns, nothing but select. Yes, after opening this particular website, I'm just getting multiple notifications. To avoid that, I'm just disabling that notifications at the browser level. And desired capabilities, maximizing that browser window after opening, and implementing implicit wait. Yes. If you want to interact with Excel file, definitely you need to specify the location of that Excel file. So I will specify the location. Right click on the Excel file and copy path or reference, copy absolute path. If you can see here, this is the absolute path. And I will just specify R here for interpreter to treat that this is as a location. That's it. These are the basic things which I want to do. First operation, nothing but getting row count. Getting row count, very important. So what I need to do, I need to get the row count, and after getting the row count in this particular Excel file, I need to specify the column number. So in this first row, column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5, 6, and these are the things which I can specify up to 6 columns, and I need to iterate through each and every row. So that is the reason what I am doing. I am just getting rows count. How I can get the rows count? We have seen whenever to get that row count in the workbook, I need to load that file along with this location, and I need to specify the sheet where the data is present. I need to get that maximum row. That's what I have specified in get row count function in utils.py. So what I will do, just I will import that in the fixed deposit calculator. It will return this particular function in the Excel utils module. In the Excel utils module, I have get row count function. Get row count function. So for this function, I need to specify the file name. I need to specify the sheet name. So what I'm doing, I'm just specifying here. That's it. Similarly, I can print that. So up to now, let me execute. If you can see it here, it has opened a browser, maximized this browser window, and landed onto this particular page. There are a lot of notifications which will be coming, but these are disabled at the browser level by this -- disable notifications. If you see, total row count is 6, which we have seen earlier. This what? Row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6. Always you need to start from second row. That's it. Because from the second row onwards, the data is present. So what I can do, I have got the row count. Then I need to read the data in each and every row and each and every column. That is what my requirement is. After reading the data, I need to pass the data to this particular principal text box, rate of interest text box, period, and for this simple interest drop down. So thereafter, I need to click on calculate. And again, I need to click on clear. If I click on clear, all the values will be cleared, and I can give another round of data, another set of data. And then again calculate. You will get the maturity value. Then again clear. So like this, I need to do. So close this as well. Go to PyCharm. So first thing is reading the data. How I can read the data? Very important. So for reading the data, what we have done in the Excel utils.py, I have just specified a function read data. For that, I need to pass file location, sheet name, what is the sheet which is having, and row number as well as column number. This is what we have seen yesterday whenever we are working with Excel files. Just I have created that as a function. That is, I will just call that particular function. What I can do, I need to read the data. What I am doing in the utils files, I'm just calling the function read data, just specifying file location and which sheet it is, which row it is, which column it is. So always for the price, you'll be having, close this as well, cal data.xls. Principal value is present in row 1 and column 1. Column is a static value here if you see. And in the column 2, what I am having, a rate of interest. Column 3, period. Similarly, column 4, period 1, period 2, column 3, column 4. Column 5 is frequency, and column 6 is expected value. So what you have done, you have just read them by using read data function. That's it. And at the time of reading the data, you need to specify the row number. You need to iterate. Then after reading the data, what I want to do, I want to send that particular data to these particular fields. How I can do that? Close this, go to PyCharm, and after reading the data, another requirement is find the element and pass the data which read. So for principal, I need to pass that principal data, rate of interest, and period, frequency, and expected value as well. How I can find and pass the data? If you see here, this is what I have already written. So what I have done, I have identified this principal text box and I have sent that principal value which I have written in the Excel file in the first iteration. Let me try to keep this in a correct indentation. Similarly, rate of interest. See what are all the things which you are seeing here, I have just already identified. You can see here, rate of interest is having ID as interest, principal is having ID as principal. Like this, I have just identified and I have just kept here. Similarly, tenure, nothing but period 1. This is the period 1. So ID is tenure for period. And these are again drop downs. So you need to handle the drop downs as well. So what you can do, this is finding that element and passing the data which we have read. These are nothing but a text boxes. So we have sent the data. Now we have drop downs. How we can handle the drop downs? So what I'm doing, I'm just selecting by visible text so that I can specify the particular options. I can select that particular options. If you can see here, always in this particular Excel file, I have just specified period as 2, 5, 3, and so on. You can specify that period 2 here. And if you can see, this is period 1 and this is period 2. You can specify that period 2 in this particular drop down. This is period 2. And similarly, frequency, which you read from this particular Excel file. That's it. So we have just to specify that in this particular code. If you want to interact with drop downs, definitely you need to use select class. And you can select by visible text, which you read from that Excel file. It is somewhat a rough concept. You need to be very patient whenever you are trying to listen. Don't worry. You'll understand whenever you are practicing. Then, after entering all the values, what I need to do, I need to perform calculate button. Once I click on this calculated button, I can get the value here. I need to read that value as well. And after reading this value, I need to check the expected value or the maturity value which I am seeing here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need to check whether the expected value is matching with actual value or not. If it is matching, I should say the test passed. If it is not matching, I need to say that test failed. And along with that, I need to highlight these particular cells. If it is failing, I need to highlight this with green color. If it is red, I need to highlight this with red color. And after all the operations in the first iteration, I need to click on clear button. If I click on clear button, then it will clear all the details. Next, another round of data. So in this way, I need to repeat. Then close this. If you can observe, I have just dealt with drop downs. Then what I am doing, I will just get the actual data. After clicking on the calculate button, I'm just clicking on the calculate button. So thereafter, after clicking on that calculator button, what I'm doing, I'm just getting that, reading that actual value, what it is trying to get. And I'm just reading that text, printing what is the expected value and actual value. Up to now, let me execute so that you can understand. I'm just executing this. Even there are some other operations like I need to update the data in the Excel file. See, if you are seeing here, these are all the things which it will be doing. 1 second, there is some interruption, I think. Yeah, let me close this. Let me execute this one more time. No, we made some mistake. Yes, what is that mistake? Every time after entering the data, I need to click on the clear button after calculating. So that's what I have missed. So what I'm doing, I'm just keeping that particular action, nothing but clicking that particular clear button here. So we can see here, let me execute it. You can see it here. Yes, every time it is clicking on the calculate button and clicking on the clear. So the value is changing. That's what you can see it here. Let me use some time so that you can understand. Time dot sleep. Just for your understanding, I'm just implementing the sleep here. Just I'm specifying the 2. So every 2 seconds, it needs to execute another iteration. You can see it here. It has opened, calculated, cleared, another round, another round, another round. That's it. In this way, we can pass the data from the Excel to web application. Then at last, I need to do some more operations. I need to do validations. Once I will get the expected and actual value, I need to validate whether my actual value and the expected value is equal or not. So what I can do, I can just use conditions. If expected value is equal to actual value, please print test is passed. And after printing, write the data. What you need to write? The data is or that particular test is passed. Along with that, you need to fill that with green color if the test is passed. If it is not, you need to fill that with red color, stating that it is failed. That particular test is failed. After that, it needs to click on the clear button. And once the particular script execution is completed, what you need to do, you need to say that calculation has been completed. This is what my custom statements are. So likewise, you can write your own logics. And thereafter, at last, I need to close this particular browser. So if you can see it here, this particular Excel file is not having the result column updated. Upon executing this particular script, it will execute the writing functions. And upon executing the writing functions, the appropriate data will be updated here. Close this, we will see. I'm just closing running fixed deposit calculator. Yes, see, in the every iteration, it is just passing the data and just calculating, capturing that matured value, clearing, and thereafter it is closed. If you see in the console, total row count is 6. In the first iteration, these are the steps: expected value, actual value, whether it is equal or not. Similarly, this is the second iteration, third iteration, fourth iteration, fifth iteration. In the fifth iteration, test is failed because expected and actual is not matching. And total I have 6 rows, but 6 minus 1, excluding that column names, column row, I am having total 5 rows. So at last, calculation has been completed. So if you open this particular sheet, the data has been updated like this. If expected and actual maturity values are matching, then you need to say the test is passed. And filling that with green color, filling that with red color.